Hip-hop, racial uniter or reinforcer of black stereotypes.
I know you got the bomb.
What you doing?
Chilling at the Holiday Inn.
Elements within hip-hop, which are now arguably the mainstream, have acted to negatively racially socialize Americans, and in the process have actually served to maintain racial barriers. Today's hip-hop allows for short, superficial stints with shallow perceptions of blackness, portraying blacks as good for a party and a fight, but bad for performing intellectually and culturally. Specifically focusing on rap, authenticity, performance, internalized oppression, and exoticism are all components of some modern rap music that dismantle the original positive and socially conscious messages of early hip-hop. It is important to raise awareness of the politically and socially conscious hip-hop that did exist from the 70s to the 80s. Groups like Public Enemy, De La Soul, African Bambaataa, and Grandmaster Flash produced lyrics that uplifted listeners without worrying about appealing to the masses. The rise of hip-hop coincided with deindustrialization, a process that left many blacks jobless. By the 1980s, this process was accelerated. During this time, many young black men joined gangs, as this era of joblessness coincided with the explosion of the underground drug economy on the urban scene. Some of the hip-hop artists that will come out of this structurally racist dynamic would introduce a new and unfavorable authenticity to blackness. As Young puts it, race has less to do with skin color or heritage than it does to do with performance, and at the heart of this performance is the notion of racial authenticity. Foods, associations, language, vernacular, and clothing all drive what is considered authentic. While hip-hop has been associated with all of these, its most visible has been vernacular and clothing, as the industry has made millions off defining what is authentically hip-hop and by default, what is authentically black. City Trends is a perfect example of this, as according to one of its investment profiles, the company takes advantage of the popularity of nationally recognized urban apparel that is associated with forward, fashion, hip-hop, and rap musicians. City Trends sets up in low-rent urban markets and sells predominantly what it calls urban apparel. Its customer base is 70% black. City Trends' business has been booming, a trend that matches that of the 13 top urban apparel companies, many of them powered by hip-hop moguls. This, of course, is not a negative thing, but exemplifies how hip-hop has the power to drive what is considered black authentic clothing, as seen by the fact that the clothing in its store is predominantly geared toward blacks. As Judith Butler puts it, performance can be characterized as a stylized repetition of acts done consciously as a way to display authenticity. While there is no doubt that many rappers come from the hood and have been forced to be a part of the drug-dealing economy as a way to support themselves, some have gone from rapping about their past to using it as a criteria for what is authentically hip-hop. Nowadays, for many, to become authentically hip-hop is to perform gangsterism and a hood swag. Violating this script of sorts can result in social sanction, as seen by former positive rapper Will Smith's designation as a bubblegum rapper. Today in some mainstream hip-hop, gangsterism, drug dealing, and distorted perceptions of manhood, prominent elements in disenfranchised neighborhoods of color, are performed by artists as a way to perform blackness, which is thought of as being cool by many. Instead of using the music as an educational tool to become socialized about different ethnicities, hip-hop's value to white listeners stems from its exotic appeal. White suburban America is intrigued by this perceived rap or gangster culture. In fact, a recent SoundScan study found that 71% of hip-hop listeners are indeed white. Some modern hip-hop songs are responsible for translating the historical racism blacks have faced into truth. Rappers themselves proliferate these damaging views, demonstrating they have internalized such oppression, and subsequently encourage their audience to do so as well. In this, external notions of black intellectual inferiority, promiscuity, and criminality are internalized and propagated. Though some negative mainstream hip-hop casts a shadow on the genre, some hip-hop is positive. From rap to dance, positive hip-hop has the potential to break down racial barriers in a way that today's mainstream is not. This could usher in a newer dream of truth that would change what it means to be hip-hop and black.